So if you've been around this channel for a while, you might have realized that I'm just not that big of a horror fan. Typically horror movies are some of the cheaper movies that you can make, which typically makes things turn into camp, and I'm not into camp. It's just not my thing. But you know what? It's October. It's Halloween spooky time. Let's check out some horror movies. Today, we're going to be talking about Sinister. Directed and co-written by Scott Derrickson, Sinister tells the story of washed-up true crime writer Ellison Oswalt, who finds a box of Super 8 home movies in his new home, revealing that the murder he is currently researching is the work of a serial killer whose legacy dates back to the 1960s. The movie stars Ethan Hawke, Juliet Rylance, James Ransone, and Fred Thompson. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say that I've been following Scott Derrickson's career, but I've really enjoyed his outing with Doctor Strange in 2016 for Marvel. I really liked that movie. And of course, there was the whole thing, is he going to do Doctor Strange 2? He didn't. He ended up doing some other things and turned that over to Sam Raimi. But I heard that he's basically working on a sequel slash something, remake, reboot. I don't know what it is, but it's Labyrinth. And look, Labyrinth is one of my favorite movies from my childhood. So yeah, to hear that he's working on that sounds really interesting. But I also found out in my little research that he did The Exorcism of Emily Rose, which I really enjoyed that one. I mean, not a perfect movie, but I liked it. So yeah, I was definitely looking forward to seeing this. The movie kept coming up over the years. I just kept hearing about it, kept seeing it on people's, favorite horror movies and things like that. And I'm like, you know what? I like Scott Derrickson. I like The Exorcism of Emily Rose. It's time. It's time to check this out. And especially, like I said, it's October. It's spooky time. I assume that this movie, since it's 10 years old, a lot of people have already seen it. So I'm going to just talk about the things that I didn't like and the things that I did like. Okay? So first off, the things I didn't like. One of my biggest pet peeves in any movie, not just horror movies, in any movie, is when a character sort of presents themselves as being a certain kind of person and then completely does something that no sane human being should do. And in this case, I'm talking about, you find these movies in your attic. What are you doing? The minute I saw that it was basically a bunch of snuff films, I would be calling the cops or the FBI or something. This is supposed to be a crime writer, true crime writer, right? Wouldn't it make sense that finding this sort of evidence in the house that you just moved into, which, by the way, is a murder scene, don't you think that, you've already laid the groundwork that the cops don't want to work with him, and they've heard of him, and they're like, they don't want him there. Wouldn't it make sense to, maybe work with them and show them this and go, hey, look, let's work together. I found this stuff. I brought it to you. I don't know. It really irritates me because, you're moving into, like I said, a house where this really bad stuff happened. You're not telling your wife about it. You're putting your children at risk. It irritated me. I'm sitting here going, no person would do this. No person who actually loves his family would do this. And then his wife finally calls him out on it, like 3/4 of the way through the movie. And I'm like, well, at least you recognize that this is not sane behavior. Another thing that happens in a lot of horror movies I've noticed is this creepy moment that doesn't really make sense with the rules that have been set up in the movie. And in this case, I'm talking about a picture on a computer screen that starts to move. Like, are we supposed to think that now his computer is haunted or something? What it just, look, it's one of those moments that you go, oh, that was kind of interesting and kind of cool and creepy, but it doesn't make any sense. And it doesn't have anything to do with what came before and what comes after. It's just this isolated moment where his computer starts I don't know. I don't like those kinds of scenes. And I mean, like I said, it was kind of an interest. Oh, that was creepy. What's his name? What's the thing's name? The Boogie, Mr. Boogie, right? But what's his actual name? Is it Bulgo? And that's not Bulgogi. It's something else. I don't know what it is. But anyway, come on, man. Here's another one. Another one of those moments where you're like, huh? Spooky kids, ghost kids, or whatever are running through the house, and you're hearing things, you're seeing things, and then you start locking your doors and your window. What? What is? And finally, I think look, the movie didn't quite work for me, right? But one of my, man, so annoying. It was so dark, this movie. It's so dark that I thought I was watching an episode of House of the Dragon. But yeah, I just don't get it. I want to be able to see the movie. Now let's talk about the things that I did like. I thought the acting across the board was really, really well done. Just the fact that you have Ethan Hawke in your movie sort of, gives it this credibility and a level of quality that I didn't really expect. I mean, I knew he was in it, but I mean, it really did help. Ethan Hawke is one of those guys. He's so believable, in what he does. It just, it's a little bit of a bummer that his character was a little bit unbelievable. But like I said, the acting was good across the board. I enjoyed seeing Fred Thompson in a very abbreviated role. Fred Thompson is the guy that, he was running the air traffic control stuff in Die Hard 2. I just like the guy. I've always liked the guy. He's got this no nonsense kind of stuff that I just like. Seeing, Vincent D'Onofrio pop up in a very, very short, small role. It was good across the board. I don't really have anything to say about the acting. I really, really enjoyed the fact that this is a horror movie without a bunch of horror movie tropes, right? The scantily clad girls running around going, and then tripping and falling as she's being chased. No, none of that crap. This is a family. This is really about a family who have like real conversations, and they seem like real people, like real characters, not just these, cardboard cutouts that you see in a lot of horror films. And look, while I can say that for the most part, the movie didn't really quite land for me, there definitely are some creepy and spooky, like, hairs on the back of your neck kind of stand up kind of thing, right? There are definitely those moments. If that's what you're looking for, I think you're going to find it here. I really, really enjoyed the parts that really worked, it's just that there was a lot of stuff that didn't work. One of the things I will say that I really enjoyed was the score and the sound mix. The sound mix in particular, it gets some love to the 5.1, to the surrounds. And I just don't understand why more movies don't utilize that soundscape. It can be very, very effective in getting that kind of that creepy factor going, because you're like, oh, that was okay. Yeah. Wow. So look, Sinister didn't quite work for me. There are things that are good. There are things that are not so good. There are moments, like especially it being so dark that I can't tell what's going on. I literally threw up my hands at one point. Like, hey, I'd like to see this movie, but and that's kind of a bummer. But I'm kind of curious for those of you out there who have seen Sinister or maybe haven't and use this as a recommendation, which I probably have done a terrible job of that, but I'm curious what you think of it. Let me know down below and we will talk about it. So thank you all so much for watching, and we will see you on the next one.